All right. Let's please go get Kurt Metzger and bring him in the studio. Kurt Metzger is a very funny comedian who, for some reason, has never been on the show before.
No, I don't know if he's been in the area before, though.
Yeah, I don't think so. All our friends have good things to say about him.
Yeah,
like Bobby Kelly said, he's the best. He's crazy. He's the best.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said. Bobby, by the way, here next weekend,
right
at Side Splitters Friday and Saturday. 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday next weekend. Well, look at you. You're a menacing-looking guy. How are you? I didn't expect you to be as tall as you are. Kurt Metzger is here.
Said to me too.
Yeah, I don't know why your face doesn't project you'll be as tall as you are.
Oh wait, can I hear?
How's that?
Even
Better?
Oh wait, yeah, no, I can't.
Yeah. Hey, how are you, buddy?
How you doing, man? Thanks.
It's a pleasure to finally have you. I don't know why you've not been here before. I don't know.
I don't
the
think
last
I've
time you've been to
worked Tampa for a long time.
Let's go. Put it in the rotation.
Oh yeah, well, I'm fine with me.
Let me tell you what you and I have in common, and I don't know how yours ended up. But we both had fights with Luis J. Gomez.
Oh, you know how it ended up? I ended up doing my podcast on his channel.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
What's that?
They were doing a live podcast, and I was in L.A. Where was it?
It went back before that. But it was such a dumb thing. And
but it was great that you showed up.
Yeah, well,
so
I didn't know.
Lewis was talking about Kurt. And Kurt shows up.
Oh, nice.
To give it back to Lewis. We're cool with Lewis now, too.
Well, yeah, and also, in fairness to Lewis, I bet, because it was based on something else, and we were, like, fighting, like, I don't mean we were fighting, but we were fighting about it.
He'll fight with anybody.
Yeah, well, we were supposed to go, like, hash it out on the podcast, and then I think Lewis was, like, kind of drunk, but I was mad at him for putting that online. And then there was it's like 500,000 hits. I was like, oh shit!
You can't say that word.
Oh, man, shut up!
Shoot!
Oh shoot! I said. Yeah. And then so I just put my podcast. I'm like, oh, it's 500,000 hits. It's like probably a built-in crowd.
It was. I'll tell you, it was great because I stumbled on it one day, and it was them on stage, the opposite ends of the stage. Lewis had made some claims. Kurt shows up and is like, I have all the text right here, and read it back and forth. And Lewis trying to talk sense to him is like trying to speak English to a gorilla. Yeah,
it's weird because I know him. I know Lewis for. I mean, we're kind of like brothers of how long we know each other, and like to be in like an argument. But he was just drunk, and like I had started up before that podcast. I was mad, and I was I was like furious at him. So I kind of started up that night. It wasn't like that he had started something up.
Yeah.
But then it was like we were going to work it out at the show. But I guess he had just been drinking there.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, the next day we made up. So.
But it was good. It stumbled outside. Like Lewis wanted to go outside.
Yeah, he's still like a showman, like a WWE guy.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of a fight, he still has like that sense of like promotion.
Yeah.
So it's funny how smart Lewis is with like certain kind of hustle, even with something as dumb as that.
Yeah. Smart, not a word normally used in the same sentence as Lewis, but yes, in that case.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. After I did that Skankfest, it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable how that turned out.
Yeah, he really put. Because I remember when they first started that festival. That was like the only good New York festival I've ever gone to.
Really?
Ever. And I think the Comedy Central one that was happening, meanwhile, was a disaster.
Comedy Central. If I'm a comedian, I don't want to do anything with them anymore.
Yeah.
So back in the day,
for those of you listening, it used to be a television channel.
Yeah.
With comedians.
Comedy on it.
Yeah. It's like how they went with the way that MTV went. Used to show videos.
Yeah,
and now we don't know what they do.
Now they just show teenagers fighting.
Did you
Is that what it is?
write for any of the roasts or anything?
Yeah, in fact, they got to get some jokes. Got to write some stuff after this for
Baldwin.
Yeah.
Down to the wire. When is that? Isn't that soon?
It's like tomorrow. I got to send it.
So like back in the day in those early roasts, they were great and they featured comedians. Now it's like, what horrible celebrities could we put out there and try to make them funny?
Well, I did. I wrote. I mean, like in the room.
Right.
That was like the Sheen one was the one I did.
Okay.
Charlie Sheen and they had like, I think they still have. There's a team of writers for it that are like just killers, which is I think Frank Sebastiano, this guy Mike Ferrucci, Chris McGuire. There was just like this, and I was in for a week. Like Jeselnik had been there the year before,
right,
for a week doing it, and then I would write sometimes for Friends Going On.
Yeah,
and the thing that was one where Patrice did it, Patrice O'Neill.
Yeah.
Then that was like the last time I hung out with him at that Sheen roast. But he would never do the roast because he didn't like that. He didn't know the person. because roast supposed to be
Somebody
someone
that you can
Right.
because then it's not mean if it's somebody that you know, like if I roast Lewis, like that's like not mean, like, but then if they get people the person doesn't even know, it's just kind of weird and cruel to do that.
Yeah.
But the celeb thing I think started from you know, like Mike the Situation the year with Trump, like
That was awful.
well, but it's there'll be like one spot.
It was Susie Essman that turned me off.
Oh,
and I like her on the
which
show.
roast was that?
I don't remember, but I remember going, why would she be on there? She's good at what she does.
Yeah,
but
right.
It's not a roast, you know?
If it's the person's friend, I just mean like for the celebrity showing up. If
That's
it's a friend of the
story.
person,
Yeah, then you
Right.
have
then
a
I get
reason.
it. Yeah.
Saget.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
That didn't even make sense. If it was Jeff Garland they were roasting, I would understand why Susie Essman would be. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Where did you grow up?
Mostly Jersey.
What part of Jersey?
Tom's River.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. My uncle had a bakery down there forever.
Did he didn't have cancer or anything? Did he?
He didn't. Why?
Was he good at baseball or at cancer?
No, neither one.
It was like a 60 Minutes cancer cluster where I grew up.
Oh, really?
I think it's
that's because Jersey stinks.
I think it's like Ciba Geigy, this chemical company, and had like a thing
Leaking
years
in there?
before. But yeah, it was on 60 Minutes. It was like this weird cluster of people would have leukemia. I mean, I didn't get it, but
when I was a kid, I grew up in Staten Island, and my grandmother lived in Jersey, and we'd have to drive like past Newark to get to her house. Like,
yeah, well, Newark's a little extra, yeah.
I mean, the minute we'd get on the highway, there'd be all those factory. I'm like, everybody's gonna be dead.
Yeah,
10 years. It's horrendous.
It's
over
some
here.
really bad smell, and people tell you it's like a potato chip factory.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
Like, that's how they make that.
But down the shore is beautiful.
Yeah, I grew up near Seaside. I grew up at Tom's River, kind of near Seaside.
Right.
So
how do you start doing comedy down there? I always loved.
I didn't. I went to art school in Philly,
Uh-huh.
Art Institute, and then I started doing the comedy club called the Laugh House.
What'd you want to do at the Art Institute?
I was trying to be into comic books when I was like.
Oh, to draw stuff.
I was going for animation, yeah, and I just dropped out when I discovered how much easier it is to do stand up than draw.
Philly's, I would think, the worst place. There's the worst human beings alive living in Philly.
Philly is like, well, now I guess it's different, but when I started, Philly was like I lived in New York for like 15 years after that, and I never had any fear of anywhere, and I lived in every borough.
Right.
But Philly, there's no, or when I was there, it was dangerous because like the people, like I'm not like I can fight or something, but I just shouldn't be the first person you would pick.
Right.
In Philly, there's no thought of that.
No.
Like you could be some little guy or whatever, but they're just going to shoot you.
Yeah. That's how I went up there for a Bucks-Eagles game one time.
Oh, sporting events. I would stack them against Boston fans as the worst.
As a longtime Yankee fan, I'd go into Boston. I'd go into Fenway with Yankee stuff on to see a game.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? But I would not do that.
Oh, yeah.
I wore Buck stuff because I was on the field. So I was like, I'm safe. I'm on the field. And people throw stuff at you from the stands. I was in the car, and they were such dicks, the people in Philly, that when I was in the car, I was making sure anything red that I had, you couldn't even see it from outside.
That's all they got. The Bloods and the Crips are more reasonable about other team colors.
It is a miserable place to live.
Yeah, my buddy Big J, he's a comic, was because he would go to sporting events there, so he saw it's like Hall & Oates were playing at some Flyers game or something, and Hall & Oates are Philly,
right? They're boys.
so
Philly boys.
Yeah, so they love like but. I guess they were playing some of their new stuff. The crowd's losing their mind, like throwing stuff. And he said, partway through the song, Hall's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And he goes, she only come out at night. Like, yeah.
You don't want to lose the Philly crowd.
Play the hits.
That's so funny.
Yeah, they booed Santa. That was their notorious.
And Bill Burr.
Yeah, Santa and Bill Burr.
Kurt Metzger is here. He's going to be at Side Splitters all weekend. 960-1197 is the number to make reservations to see him. Who do you hang out with besides Big J? We know we like. I talked to Bobby Kelly the other day. I go, hey.
I didn't see Bobby in a long time. Not since Skankfest, actually.
Kurt Metzger's coming on the show for the first time. You know him? Buddy.
Buddy.
The best. I go,
he used to come over my house all the time.
The best. I said, oh, okay, that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah, Bobby's.
You go to Bobby's house?
No, yeah,
I
have.
He came to your house.
I would used to do his podcast all the time.
Oh, okay.
In fact, Lewis would do it all the time.
So listen to this. I didn't even tell you this yet. So I did his podcast, the Shed thing, last weekend.
Yeah.
I was in New York, and I went up there and I did it. And he sends me a. This is dicks. This is not. First of all, I had to pay my own Uber to get there from the city. Cost me like $300.
What is the shed thing? I don't even know. I live in LA now, so I haven't been in one.
He's got this shed in his house, like a little. They made like for you can go out there and smoke cigars. It's out in the backyard.
Dude, I got a shed in my house, and
and you go out and there's 2 chairs, and you go out there and it's all mic'd up and videoed up. He's got all his gadgets.
So it's him one-on-one instead of, you know what, dude, with everybody else.
Oh.
Right. And it's pretty cool. So I go up there and they have this guy, this Middle Eastern intern. And he's like, let me mic you up. And he takes a mic and he puts it like over here. And I'm like, that's good. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. So then the guy calls yesterday. He's like, we got a problem. I go, what? And he goes, Mike's neck fat kept muting the microphone. And I go, well, that's not my fault.
Yeah,
I had
you're the
a
audio
thing-
guy.
Yeah.
I had that happen on I was doing Horace and Pete, that Louis C.K. show that he was selling. Like,
Right.
they had to change my mic because I just heard the guy on the speaker. He goes, yeah, we gotta put. They had to put like extra tape because like my body hair was rustling too much. My Eastern Bloc chest hair was scraping the mic.
And Bobby sends me the clip. The guy is watching the video of me. He goes, watch. When he talks this way, he's fine. And when he turns his head to the left, it gets muted in his
That's
neck
because
fat.
Bobby knows a lot of like fat lore.
Yeah.
and he's very conscious of it. So like, I imagine he picked up some tips for him with a mic.
Right. But he didn't share that with me. He leaves me out there to be the fat guy. Yeah. Now he feels skinnier because that happened.
Yeah.
I know so long. I know Skinny Bobby. It was like
we met Skinny Bobby twice.
What if, this is his sixth fat.
Six fat. Yeah.
We're in his sixth. The prophecy will come to in the sixth fat of Bobby.
The 8th fat is when locusts follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we love those guys. We love Big J. Are you amazed that Dan Soder has become such a thing?
I didn't even know what's happening.
Oh, like with Millions and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, he's got he's like a radio guy too for a while, wasn't he, Dan? And like, I don't know. He's got. I'm surprised with his natural Buffalo Bill voice. That
Who don't you like?
in comedy?
Yeah, these are my favorite things to find out.
You know, nobody that I know personally.
No.
I didn't care for. But I guess like.
By the way,
compared
this is the most excited I've ever been. Normally, I ask somebody that question. I go, oh, no, I like her.
Yeah, but I don't have
Your
like
wheels are turning
I mean, you know, even like the worst thing I ever fight that I had was with Lewis, but I'm like dear friends with him. But like, I was just telling JJ about it in the car, like, because I love that new Chappelle special. Isn't that great? And then the critic score is 0.
Yeah.
And it's 99% audience score.
Right.
I'm sure the audience is wrong though. And what was that stupid Nanette that they were pushing?
Oh, yeah.
That's 100%.
Yeah.
And are you joking?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know that chick. But I just cannot believe.
Right. That's got to from
I
a
would
work
live in
standpoint.
an age where that's the critical thing is like you got to see. It's amazing. She doesn't even do her job and tell the jokes. She just complains, and then like that's the future of comedy.
Oh.
The future is not doing it.
That's as annoying to me as when, and thankfully the comedy clubs here don't do it, but like publicists will be like, "You are gonna love this comedian."
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? A publicist it's like bad real estate or something.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to sell you bad home mortgages.
She's 65 and known as the Southern Mom, and I want to be like, "How dare you think I'm like
Right.
How dare you?" By the way, you have a publicist?
No, I know.
I knew it. Somebody hit me up in a
doing much
weird
better
way.
if I had a professional liar.
Somebody hit me up
and
said they were your publicist.
Who was it?
Here's what I thought. This see, I don't usually deal with publicists when it becomes with the comedians because the club's going to bring them in anyway. So we just go that way.
Yeah,
it was a girl, and I was like,
"Was my man?" No, I couldn't.
You know, So I went to her Facebook page. I don't know why. Something about the email intrigued me.
Oh,
and she's just like a super liberal, kind of good-looking, maybe Mexican chick. Let me look at my. I went to her page. It was like hate Trump everywhere.
I mean my manager is Mexican, but she's not.
Oh no, you know what?
On Facebook doing
that was
anything.
it. She hit me up on Facebook.
Yeah.
Let me look at my Facebook.
Because it could either be my actual manager or it could be somebody trying to screw with me because they're like political and
I worry about that stuff. So I never acknowledge.
Yeah.
I gotta find it. I'll find it here just so I can tell you.
Oh yeah, I'm just curious because you know, the person who manages me, but she doesn't. I know she doesn't post political things on her.
Well, I just went to her page just to look around to see if she was legit because usually publicists don't hit you up on Facebook.
Yeah, right.
Marlene.
Oh no, that's my manager.
That's your manager.
She's not a publicist though. She's a manager.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, and it was no big deal. Like, it wasn't like, how dare she? I just was surprised, but I wasn't sure. And then I looked at her thing, and I was like, oh man, I don't even know if she's gonna.
No, she's good actually. She's a good manager.
Okay.
But it is a possibility of with some weirdo. I've had so many weirdos
do that.
Yeah,
that's what I have to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah.
She, in her defense, she didn't say she was a publisher. She said she had a client that was playing Side Splitters.
Oh,
so
okay.
It worked out fine.
That's probably why she's on Facebook, because she's not I guess a publicist would go a different route.
I watched that Chappelle show. I mean the Chappelle special. I watched the other ones that were on. I thought they were very funny. And then I was like, well, everybody's talking about this. I gotta find time to watch it. So I sat down and I put it on, and within the first 5 seconds, I got up to shut the light, and when I got up to shut the light, I started laughing out loud to myself, and I'm like, so far so good. We're off to a good start. I couldn't understand what people were angry about, and I watched the whole thing, and I was like,
nobody was actually angry. It's a completely made up.
It's unbelievable. Like, I don't. It's.
Do you notice they don't say, especially if you read any? I mean, I just had to stop reading all like regular news, basically. Yeah. But the people that criticize it, they never will say what the specific bad thing is. They just go, "Oh, this is lazy." You're like, "What?" I thought Nanette was pretty lazy.
Yeah, right.
You know, any damn punchlines? Like, but actually, the work is making a funny joke.
Yeah. Oh, I thought even some of the things he said, you kind of saw the punchline coming, but the way he brings you through the story.
Yeah, he's just good, man.
He's great. I thought it was great. I didn't. But
also, if you're getting offended by comedy, maybe just don't watch comedy. You know,
but that's the thing. The people that would get it, they don't watch comedy. Yeah. They only would watch it to find a thing. It's like there's this thing of doing political, like we're all in a campaign for our lives, and then the people do like this is what I found out. Like there's people just dedicated to like political dirty tricks.
Yeah.
On very minor levels of celebrity, like no, you don't have to be very famous. You could do a couple of basic cable things,
right?
And there'll be like a weird, jealous millennial troll thing that they're going to try to like ruin you.
They pass it around to each other. So
this is the grossest. I mean, this is probably the grossest generation ever. Like I can't even imagine.
Do you think if Louis C.K., somebody that was at his level of success, came out and was like, I had their permission and I apologize. Let's just move on, and tried to just move on as usual, everybody would have went, yeah, we agree with him.
Well, Louis was in. And I mean, that's really what should have. I mean, I don't even understand why I know the story. I don't understand.
We all knew the story for years.
Yeah, it was like an old cokehead story.
Right.
When I got into comedy.
And who doesn't have a weird story from college?
And then he asked for my permission to masturbate. Oh, how did you survive?
Right.
I thought he asked me my hotel to celebrate my guitar comedy.
And then you ran out of the room while he was doing it?
No, I sat there with my friend, terrified. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You know any black women, by the way, who you'll go, hey, can I masturbate? And they'll go, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I am telling you.
But if you're in that dominion like that, it's like that authority of that nonsense.
Yeah.
He was like, you know, before it's not like liberals, because that's like an old dynamic, like liberal conservative. It's like these new, like crazy I don't even know if woke is still the word, but it's those zombies, and then like liberals are just like weak and don't fight it, you know?
Yeah. So
he was part of the liberal thing, and that he thought that was his team, and like that's how they could crack down, because on the other end of it, it's like Trump or this is what's crazy. Kevin Spacey, right, is not allowed to play the president on that show,
right?
But he probably could run for president. That's
you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
That's great priorities everybody's got.
That's another one. Kevin Spacey. I don't know this news story about this young kid that supposedly was like a friend of the family or something like that.
Yeah, it was something.
But the story before that Kevin Spacey got in trouble for was he was in a play with the kid that was in Rent. And the kid was younger.
Is this the same one? Oh, the one that he was at a party and he said Kevin Spacey.
Well, they were like at a bar.
Anthony Rapp is the guy's name, I think. With the glasses.
Yes, that's a different one, though. The one at the bar is a different one.
Okay.
This one was the first one, and they were like, he was younger, but they went back to the hotel and he tried to make a move. And I thought, when you have two guys, you can flip this and reverse it. You can say, when I was 16. And a 30-something-year-old woman that I was doing a play with tried to make, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah. And you can't say, well, it doesn't matter. It does, because it's still
gay,
a guy.
First of all, gay even more so?
Right.
You know, well, first of all, when I was in high school, I knew so many girls that were dating a guy who had graduated who could have gone to jail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But gay, that is so common for 16s. I mean, that's just a thing that I don't know from first-hand experience, but everybody gay I know has told me like that's a so.
Right.
I guess it's a matter of somebody putting their hands on you against your will. Obviously, I wouldn't.
And he didn't. The guy, he said he tried to kiss him. He felt uncomfortable, and the guy wiggled out. And then Kevin was like, "Okay."
That's because somebody's fame. Because that's you, especially in entertainment. That stuff has to be taken with a grain of like, could be totally true and bad, but it's still people have a motive. In politics and entertainment, people have a motive to capitalize on something that may or may not be a thing.
That is
so you have to just take that into account. That's why I understand this insanity of like, no, we will decide.
I went to see Louis when he played here at Side Splitters.
Yeah.
4 shows, 6 shows, whatever, all sold out.
Yeah.
Not a problem. And I was like, who are the people that have the problem? Like I don't
it's
even.
It's a very small, and they're losing their grip.
So why
on
do
things.
why do we care about them?
It's just at some point, all this kind of like establishment, corporate kind of media, they don't want to pay people, so they like to get these unqualified kind of ideologue people to do it, and in lieu of pay, it's like they pay you an identity now.
Right.
Yeah. Like Vice, Notorious, they wouldn't give people. They would give you like a Vice class ring for working there. And so these idiot hipsters, and a lot of them are like kind of rich kids. Anybody blathering about privilege is usually a rich kid because you wouldn't even know words like that unless you had the money to go to school. And
sure.
So they can afford to, have improv classes and the kind of stuff where you see this nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like people that came for money and then they don't get paid at these jobs and then they start to get mad. And so anybody who's working at all in their dream job, that's like their beat to walk.
Yeah.
I had so many bloggers that were like part-time open micers in like some town that just would just slander me. I mean, at one point I was just like, am I in The Simpsons? Like the headlines were so crazy, and a bunch of them are laid off now, like HuffPo and all those nonsense sites. They're just, that's why the quality is so low. They're not a real journal.
That's when people say that. I mean, HuffPo is different because it's almost like a full news organization, but bloggers.
Yeah, almost, except without any of the integrity of journalistic integrity.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, I don't. When's the last time you read a blog?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Never.
I couldn't care less.
I would maybe watch somebody's thing on like a YouTube, but that's a big threat to regular.
Yeah.
That's why you see all these crackdowns or like someone complaining is because that it's all like ad revenue.
Oh, sure. That's
so
when
they're losing their grip.
Yeah.
They're all losing their grip and they're mad, and so they'll try to destroy anybody's.
This is Kurt Metzger. He's going to be here tonight at Side Splitters. 8 and 10:15, and tomorrow 8 and 10:30, 960-1197. What did you do on the Sacha Baron Cohen show, the Who Is America?
I was a writer for it.
Now, so how much of that is pre-written?
Oh, Sacha's. I mean, he's actually really great to write for because he's like he's an actor. He'll say he will say your lines and do it really well. So it's if you have like a good line, it's great. I mean, he'll do a word for. I thought he was more like improv. No, he's like a real.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a lot of stuff on that show.
Now, why do you think that show wasn't as successful as the other stuff that he did? Because it had some great blow-ups on there. I mean, it had Bernie Sanders.
I don't know. I don't know what. I think it was very successful for Showtime.
Was it? I don't know.
Yeah, they're because that's a good example because their subscriptions went way up from that show, but there was a lot of media not making it out as. Successful as it was, and that's purely that the people that would write that stuff were like, well, a white male is white male, like, and that was even before it got as crazy as it is now.
Yeah,
and I remember saying to them like, dude, this will be one of the last things that, like, the regular media will allow, like a middle-aged white guy. You're like the enemy.
Why are we not putting together our own network that's the Who Gives a F network?
Louis J. Gomez, honest to God, he really, that's Skank because Louis did a surprise set there. He had every comic in New York that I'd want to see, and then comics from L.A. that I know were there. That was the best festival, and he's smart, man. He came in and he's because people still want, to laugh. They don't really want to hear an autistic lesbian tell a sad story for comedy. That's some rich. The people that would like that have never enjoyed comedy.
Right.
They're actually against it. So that's a huge market that anybody who's smart. And I give it to Louis, man, because he's smart enough to pick up on it.
You're right.
He has real dedicated audience. Like that's Skankfest.
Oh, I know. When I had the fight with Louis, I find out how dedicated they are to him.
Yeah, right. And but that's money in the bank because those people are fans. They're real comedy fans, and they will pay. The people that criticize this other stuff, and it's not just comedy; it could be movies, video game, whatever. They don't actually use the They don't like any of the things.
So they don't know.
They just like to go make a proclamation. This isn't diverse enough, but they're not going to watch or support or buy the product.
Isn't he talking about doing Skankfest South and West and like moving it around?
He's going to have to expand it because there wasn't enough room at the festival. Was great. I couldn't believe how great that I released my podcast the next Monday because I was like, I got to jump in on this thing he has. But you'll see a lot more of that now, especially that I think that Chappelle special is kind of like the wave breaking.
Right, let everybody know you could start being cool again. Because
who trusts regular media review or opinion now?
No.
It's so not that I ever did, but now it's like night and day.
Yeah. I don't know. I always like what I like, and I'm not gonna let somebody else, except for Galvin. If I really want to see a movie and Galvin saw it,
well, you don't want to sound old. That's the thing that blows my mind. Like Chappelle sounds like an old man. You mean someone smarter than you?
Yeah, I didn't
young lady.
I didn't get that either.
Well, first of all, I hope I sound old. I don't want to sound young. That would be very... No, you want to look young, maybe, but you don't want to sound like a 20-year-old girl. I'd like to sound like a middle-aged man.
You're a 40-year-old black guy. You don't want to sound like a young white teenage girl.
But there's this... Like, the words just mean, like, not cool. Like, I don't want to sound like that. Funny, by the way, what's funnier than an old man? That's like the basis. That's who invented funny.
We were just talking about Bob Newhart.
Who do you think invented funny? A young girl?
No. A young autistic lesbian?
Yeah, like, what are you talking about?
Kurt Metzger is at Side Splitters this weekend. Go by and see him. Very funny comedian. As Bobby Kelly would say, dude. The best.
Dude.
Yeah. I'm glad you finally got in here. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Getting up early, and it's good to meet you. I'll tell you the hope for my future is I have a 13-year-old son, and I took him on a whim. We're friends with Bert Kreischer, and Kreischer did a couple
of nights
Bert.
Here. Bert's a good dude, man.
My son was 12, and I go, I think he's fine. He will be fine to go see it. And he laughed his ass off. And then when he left there, he's like, I want to see more of that. I want to do more comedy. I want to do more.
Yeah, people want it.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm going to let him watch that Chappelle special because I think he'll love that.
The next generation, it's just like these millennials. And it's not all the millennials. It's just the rich kids.
Yeah.
That's where all this nonsense. That's why they like Nanette, because she's like a purse puppy for rich people. You know, like
weird.
Look at I have, but the next generation after that is gonna. The pendulum swing is gonna be very.
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah, as it should be, because it's crazy now.
Well, hopefully we get back to normal. Thank you, man. We're going to take a quick break. It's the Mike Calta Show. It's 102.5 The Bone.
You're listening to the Mike Calta Show on 102.5 The Bone.